Come here a little bit.
Hey, everybody. You want to come this way? All right. You do your thing. Give it a few seconds here to hit the other streams. 5, 4, 3, 2. Oh, my God. I'm not ready. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to our live stream chat. Thanks for joining us. Please take a moment to let other people know, to tweet it out or whatnot so that we can have as many people as possible come and hang out with us. We're going to cover a bunch of the day's news and everything. I'm joined by, what's your name again? Eleanor Goldfield.
Cute. What's happening with my hair over here? Anyway.
I think it's awesome. It's hurricane chic.
Thank you. You're really batting 1,000 right now. Fuck. Yes, hello. And
hello, UK.
Welcome to our one day early live stream.
We're going to hit a bunch of topics about what's going on in the world. I don't know if you noticed, but it's been a very slow news week. Not much happening. I think I've used that joke before, but it never gets old. This because it's such fucking chaos that every week you're like, wow, I didn't know we could top last week. But
to
here
quote
we are.
Lenin, not John, but Vladimir.
Not John.
There are decades where nothing happens, and then there are weeks where decades happen.
Very true. Very true. Yeah. So let's start off by saying what the Super Chat donations are going to go to. For those of you who've joined us before, every week we donate all of the proceeds from the Super Chat donations to a cause.
Last week, we raised, or you guys raised, $1,366 to the Julian Assange Defense Fund that was started by his partner Stella Morris, which is fucking awesome.
Incredible. I think that was our new record. Actually.
Wow.
New record in 1 hour. $1,336 is going to
awesome.
Julian. That's the amount going to Julian Assange and his legal funds. So very cool. You guys were amazing last week. Thank you for being a part of that. For those of you on Facebook, come over to youtube.com/Moment of Clarity and you can be part of the Super Chat. This week we are donating to the Sisseton Wahpeton Sioux tribe. It's in the northeastern, their current territory, acknowledged, is in the northeastern corner, 4 counties of South Dakota, which is now a hot spot for COVID. And folks watching this might already be aware of the disparities between access to things like healthcare and social programs between Native reservations and, outside of reservations. It is a stark difference, and people are really hurting in that area. So today we are donating those proceeds to that specific area. Folks might also recognize it because of the Sturgis motorcycle rally that happened in South Dakota not too long ago, where some 250,000 dick bags descended on the state of South Dakota, sans masks, sans common sense or logic. And of course, as science said was going to happen, the cases of COVID skyrocketed. And of course, a lot of the folks that are being railroaded by the stupidity of majority dumbass white people are indigenous folks in South Dakota. And so this is a really, it's a really dire situation there. 1 out of every 4. Thank you, Lucy.
I was speaking to, thank you, Lucy, to Allison Renville, who's the public information officer for the tribe, told me that 1 out of every 4 tests have come back positive recently. They were at 300 new cases a day, which in a population that size is mind-boggling. For instance, to give you an example, last Monday here in Washington, D.C., we were at 14 new cases a day. So 300 new cases versus 14. It's really quite stark.
That's incredible.
And it's going to be even more. It's going to be even more intense as winter rolls through, because thanks to climate change, the temperatures in that area of the country can reach 50 below.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. You could. Oh, sorry. You can use the mouse.
Oh yeah, that's true. And then people don't have the earthquake effect.
So that's just a little window into what's going on in South Dakota and why.
Thank you, Mackenzie.
And why the proceeds are going to them tonight. Oh shit! Thank you.
Thank you, Mackenzie. Yeah, so again, just to reiterate how amazing it was last week, $1,366 going to Julian Assange's legal fund. So let's get into some of the news of the week. So Donald Trump, I think you might have heard, has come down with some sort of illness. I haven't heard of it before. But thank you.
Thank you.
Triana, be fine. So he got COVID-19. Now, here's the thing. You guys have heard all the analysis of all that shit, so I'm not going to really get into it. But the one thing I would like to say about this is there is no more clear time when you see that the oligarchy is a small group of elite motherfuckers that don't give a fuck about us, but all care about each other. And you see that right now because even all of these like liberal media assholes who have they've told you constantly that Trump is a dictator, that he's a Russian agent, that he's destroying America, all these things. And now they spin on a dime and they say, but pray for him to be well. And I'm like, all right, listen, I'm no Trump supporter, but you guys get to choose one or the other, okay? You get to either say, let's pray for our dear leader, or you get to say, oh my God, he's a unique threat to the United States, and Joe Biden will fix everything, and Donald Trump is destroying everything. And you get to choose one of those. You can't have both.
Can I read the tweet by Rachel Maddow?
Yes.
So make sure that you got some spit buckets close by. Rachel Maddow, God bless the president and the first lady. If you pray, please pray for their speedy and complete recovery and for everyone infected everywhere, except for Iran, Venezuela, Syria, and anywhere else that were bombing people indiscriminately.
She did not say that part, but she should have.
It was the fine script.
Yeah. So Rachel Maddow didn't seem to tweet out about prayers and thoughts when Bernie Sanders had a heart attack. Thank you, Azim. She didn't tweet about care for the people, the kids that are dying in Venezuela, Nicaragua, Iran, various countries that we're perpetrating economic war on. That doesn't bother her. That's not an issue. But Donald Trump gets sick, gets the top medical care that any human being in America will ever get. And she's worried about. That's the one person she really, let's get all our thoughts and prayers out to Donald Trump, who's having a tough time right now.
Oh yeah, and of course it really just speaks to somebody posted like, well, we should really give Donald Trump the real COVID experience and have him wait for medical care if he gets any, have him lose his job, have him get no unemployment benefits, have him be evicted from his home, which ironically is what people are trying to do through elections, but yeah, that's it really just shows he was sent to Walter Reed Hospital and of course gets cutting edge care, stuff that they haven't even let other people access. It's just it's an absurd. Like, he needs fucking prayers right now. There are children in cages dying of the flu by the border, but we really need thoughts and prayers for fucking Donald Trump. Are you out of your mind?
And I'm not a religious person, but I don't think Donald Trump is either. Okay, I don't think he's ever been to a church other than when he gassed his own citizens with tear gas and rubber bullets and concussion grenades in order to stand in front of a church and hold up a Bible.
Stand in front of a boarded up church.
And hold up a Bible.
Making it clear that he had never actually held a book before.
This is not how you hold a book.
Yeah, if you saw that he was holding it, it was like, I don't understand. What is this device here that I don't understand?
Anyway, but the ones that make me the angriest are these fucking hypocritical. And look, everyone, the thing is, you don't have to say Trump's a fucking moron. Everyone knows that, I think. And most people do. You don't have to say that, yes, he's made this pandemic 100 times worse. He runs around saying, oh, it's not that big a deal. It's like a light cold. It'll go away. And here he is being medevaced from the White House to Walter Reed. Oh, it looks a little different than you had said. But you don't really need to say that stuff because at least you guys get it. I think most of the people get it. But when you're talking about these goddamn assholes who are trying to get everyone to feel that Trump is this unique threat and then they spin around and say, let's pray for him, let's love him. It really is disgusting. I mean, it proves their hypocrisy. It proves they have no fucking ethical center. It's just pathetic.
Well, here's a question from Rachel. How do you think he'll play this? Sympathy, or he overcomes it and acts like it isn't as bad as it is?
He'll get through it, and he'll play it like it wasn't a big deal. But maybe you kind of mentioned this in saying, like, let's see him actually deal with what real Americans are dealing with. But this should make for the number one, like, this is the prime time to talk about how no other American is getting this level of medical care. He's getting experimental treatments that haven't even been approved yet. They said, like, he is getting a chemical cocktail unlike any other American out there, because not just because he's president, but because he's rich. So, you know, it'd be very similar for a lot of rich people in this country that are going to get the top level of care, and almost none of them are dying. I think Herman Cain is the only one. And so it's like, let's see him. I would love to see that headline on CNN. Breaking news, Trump's going to go to the community hospital down the street where people can go without insurance to prove that he understands the plight of the average American.
Right. Yeah. No, I think it will be played out. But this is also an interesting point, because when we started this, when we started the live stream, I mentioned that on Monday, this past Monday, there were 14 new cases of coronavirus in DC. That was like the daily new cases. Just in the White House staff alone, there have been 23 new cases. So this really speaks to, like, let me tell you, the people in DC that are getting COVID do not have access to the shit that the White House has access to. Obviously, I mean, that doesn't even need to be said. And yet there are 23 new cases just at the White House.
Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you, Margaret. So yeah, it's remarkable to see, like, the amount of privilege that these ass jockeys have, and then, you know, they go and get COVID after interacting with, you know, a shit ton of people on the road, and completely, you know, no care or interest in the ramifications of that. And meanwhile, people on the ground here in DC are working really hard to keep our neighbors and our community safe. And we were at like some really positive, making some positive progress. You know, 14 new cases on Monday. That's pretty solid.
So I know it seems like 900 years ago, but I did this week's Redacted Tonight on the debate that just took place. That was the worst thing that any human being's ever seen. I'm not going to get into it here. You can watch Redacted.
Sophie.
Thank you, Sophie. You can watch Redacted Tonight if you'd like to see a more detailed analysis of that clown car of fucking burst into flames. But I thought it'd be interesting for you to give a brief 1 or 2 minute synopsis of why you don't watch the debate. Didn't watch the debate. Don't watch the debates.
Well, there was this really good book about pirates that I wanted to read. That's actually true. So I don't. First of all, we shouldn't call it a debate, because debates are. And I mentioned this last time, but debates are when people have well-formulated arguments. They're coming in there with facts and information that they can use to support their perspective and their reasoning on a particular topic. That's a debate. Whatever the fuck, and I'll say this: the debate hasn't even been a debate for the past, I don't know, like 16 years or what. I mean, it hasn't been debates for a long time.
Well, and it was taken away from the League of Women Voters, right, because they would allow third parties in. And so now it's in the completely partisan, you know, it's owned by the two main parties, the two corporate parties.
Right. So these debates are nothing but, it's like watching two kids on PCP in a sandbox arguing over who gets to use the shovel. Like, it is fucking
to scoop the shit that's they're
right.
deep in.
It's like it's both depressing and frustrating and infuriating. It is so many bad emotions at once. And And I don't like, and here's the thing, for me, I don't think that there's anything that I could possibly gain from it. I understand that like you and like your show.
Oh, I don't think I gain from it.
Well, you gain from it
now,
in the sense that you use it for your show.
I'm now dumber.
I know. I wanted you to watch it just so I could have an edge on you.
Yeah.
Intelligence wise. No, but like you have a show and you were going to offer that, your perspective on whatever happened, which is not a debate. And I know some other folks, like Eugene Purrier over at Breakthrough News did the same thing. The Green Party candidate Howie Hawkins was doing a live tweet. Like, I get why some people were engaging with it, but particularly because electoral politics in general is not my thing, really. I don't believe in it as a path towards collective liberation. Then I would only subject myself to a debate if it's actually a fucking debate, and it's not whatever that was.
Yeah. Guys, thanks for joining us. We're donating all the super chat donations to. You didn't know that was about to happen?
To the Sisseton Wahpeton Sioux tribe in northeastern South Dakota, which is a really big epicenter of the coronavirus right now, and of course because of the lack of access to aid and healthcare that Indigenous folks have, just from a foundational point.
And they're exploited they're being exploited in about 900 other ways as well.
Yeah, so that's where the donations are going today. So please do. Give what you can.
And we will be, as we always do in these things, we will be answering your questions, discussing your topics. So if you have topics you'd like for us to hit on in the next 45 minutes, please post them. Let us know. But yeah, we're going to talk about a few things.
Oh, and another thing that I wanted to mention was, I think it was you who told me that as soon as Trump said that he tested positive, the Biden campaign took out or ended all of their attack ads.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought that was really funny because that plus the Maddow tweet plus like that whole thing is it's very indicative of the Democratic Party's obsession with civility and this idea that like no matter what we have to be civil because that is more important than systemic racism. That is more important than climate justice. That is more important than war or famine or anything. We have to be civil.
Well,
because civility has done a lot in the history of getting people their basic human rights. Civility ended slavery, for instance.
Thank you, Pirate Ray.
And J9 Campbell. Civility won workers some basic workers' rights. Civility is what got kids from having to work in factories.
I think you're being sarcastic. What gave it away? Yeah. Well, there's a reason they're obsessed with civility. It's not just that they happen to think it's nice to be polite. It's that they don't want the more things become uncivil, the more it is revealed how this empire works and how fucking disgusting it is and how people around the world are being killed by our economic wars and our wars, the straight up wars. And civility is used to paper over a lot of the wounds that are just slowly being ripped open across the American mindscape and cultural mindset, cultural world. And so they say we need civility because they need the fucking neoliberals and neocons. They want to get rid of Trump because he's a terrible CEO for America Inc., but they don't want to hurt the office of the presidency or the belief that if we just elect one different person, if you get that one different congressman in there, then we're really going to fucking turn things around here. Mm-hmm. They need that belief in people. And so that's why they need civility, is because they need everyone to be cordial in order to not reveal how fucking repulsive and dystopian things are becoming.
Well, and this is why I hate the Democrats more than the Republicans a lot of the time, because the Republicans are at least honest about wanting to kill people. The Democrats, wrap themselves in civility and wrap themselves in a fucking rainbow flag and then kill you anyway. I think it's a lot more refreshing to have somebody just say, like, I really fucking hope you die. So I think there have been some really good memes on the interwebs that show like how the elections work. Wow, thank you, Chaos Agent.
Chaos Agent, $100. That's incredible.
Appreciate it. So there have been some great memes that show like the Republicans that are just like, yeah, die. And then the Democrats, it says die, #BLM, rainbow flag. Which is basically, and we saw this like in 2016, right? There were memes going around about the, you know, the difference between Hillary and Trump, and one was like Republicans.
Thank you, Mackenzie.
Bombs going off all over the, you know, the Middle East, and then the Democrats were bombs going off all over the Middle East with smiley face.
Well, and there was another great cartoon. It was like two women in, you know, an unnamed Arab country. I don't think it said which country, but the two women sitting there and they go, did you hear? I hear the next bombs are going to be dropped by a black vice president. And then the other person, as they're seeing bombs rain down, goes, it's good to be a part of history. By a black female vice president, yeah.
So, Mackenzie, your question is interesting because I just saw another really hilarious tweet that said COVID is doing more to stop the Republican SCOTUS pick than the Democrats are, which is if enough congressional Republicans are quarantined to have Dems block SCOTUS.
Thank you, Lumpia Logic.
I don't think that the Democrats are going to do shit to block the SCOTUS nominee. They don't care because they could. There are many things that the Democrats could do to block the nominee, and they're not doing any of the things. And
can I just get into details about that for a second?
Oh, please.
Yeah, there are a bunch of things that the Democrats could do if they actually wanted to stop this nomination. For one thing, they could slow down the procedure in general, but most importantly, if they were to bring legit impeachment charges, not the laughable Ukraine gate, not the completely free of evidence Russia gate, if they were to bring real impeachment charges against Donald Trump for like war crimes, then they could actually stop the nomination completely because the impeachment has to go forward before the nomination. So you could drag out that impeachment for God knows how long. That's if the Democrats actually wanted to stop this nomination, but they're not interested in that. They're just interested in vote shaming you for not loving Joe Biden or for voting for Jill Stein last time around. That's their only interest. Not to mention fucking Ruth Bader Ginsburg could have seen this coming 100 years ago and could have stepped down while Obama was in office and had a liberal replacement if it was that important to them. But no, they just want to vote shame you.
Right.
Sorry, go ahead.
I don't remember where I
was. You were saying the Democrats. You were saying you were listing things they're not doing, and I just wanted to.
Well, yeah, but that's the main thing, and the point being that the Democrats always have routes and pathways to do something good, but they just never do it. And yet they always bitch and moan about how horrible the Republicans are and how the Republicans are, you know, like a threat to the United States. They're a threat to humanity. And yet they go along with the Republicans all the time. And then they turn around and say, oh my God, aren't the Republicans horrible? So again, it's like, they are far more two-faced and hypocritical and fucking sneaky than the Republicans, because the Democrats still try to act on the outside like they give a flying fuck.
Thank you, Chili Rivera.
About people, in particular, the most marginalized people in society, when they don't. And they really lean on the idea that the most marginalized in society have no other choice but to vote for a Democrat. And so they wear that with fucking pride. They're like, what are you going to do? Run and vote for a Republican? I mean, it's like Joe Biden said in that interview he did, like, if you're going to vote for Trump, then you ain't black. Like, I just assume that you have to vote for me because you don't have another fucking choice, because that's the way we've rigged this fucking system.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chili. And
Chili's asking whether the COVID thing is even real because no one's talking about Donald Trump's taxes anymore. I would say 100% the COVID thing is real. I don't put it past Donald Trump to lie about things. But for one thing, he does not want to talk about COVID-19. He's proven that again and again. He wishes it didn't exist. And he's done everything to try and act like it's going to be gone tomorrow or it's not a big deal. But most importantly, Donald Trump is 100% about ego and appearing to be a winner. that like at a childish level, like a 6-year-old who's like, I always win. And so this makes him look weak. Getting COVID-19, no matter how quickly he gets over it, which clearly it's not going to be like that quick, no matter how quickly he gets over it, makes him look weak. And he will never do anything he would rather, lose 100 times over the election than walk out there and say, hey, I'm just really weak. So.
Yeah.
Shall we move to a new topic soon?
Sure. What did you have in mind?
Well, the Venezuelan election is coming up, and the U.S. has saddled Venezuela with new sanctions to try and hurt them with the upcoming election. And the U.S. does everything to fuck with Venezuela. Every struggle Venezuela is having right now is largely due to the sanctions on Venezuela by the U.S. And the last time Venezuela's elections, for those of you who think that, oh, Maduro's just a dictator who rigs all his elections or whatever, Venezuela, if you look at international unbiased people that view elections, they say their elections are far more legit than U.S. elections. U.S. Elections are, a large Harvard study found them to be the worst in the Western world. So theirs are far more legit than ours are. And the opposition to Maduro, many of them didn't run last time around because the U.S. told them don't run so that we can say the election wasn't legit. Some of the opposition still ran and lost by a very high margin. So Maduro's just winning the elections, and they're far more legit than U.S. elections. But
so just real quick, I also yes.
Say again where the donations are going.
That's what I was going to do. So today we are donating to the Sisseton Wahpeton Sioux tribe in Thank you, Jim. In northeastern South Dakota, which is a epicenter of COVID, largely thanks to not only the fact that, of course, Indigenous people have far less access to things like healthcare and social services, but also the fact that South Dakota has recently been inundated by a bunch of fucking assholes who went to the Sturgis motorcycle rally there and just caused the cases in South Dakota to soar. So we are sending funds over to folks in that area, the Sioux tribe, in order to help them get things like PPE and get things to support their community and their neighbors. So that's where the money is going to today. And I also wanted to highlight that. And if you look at Popular Resistance, I think this is actually up there as well.
.org.
But a while back.
Thank you, Vladi, maybe.
I did an interview with Kevin Zeese about their trip to Venezuela, where he talks about some of the things that he experienced in terms of Venezuela's elections and Venezuela's government and social structure. So that's a really cool interview as well. And whatever happened to Guaido?
Guaido, actually, I did see right now he's hosting a game show that's app based. You can't get it on TV. I
actually don't even know if you're serious.
I'm kidding.
Okay. Because I could actually see that happen. Thank you, Tara Mini Wachoni.
And thank you, Maki. Guaido, he's still around, but here's the thing: is he had no public, no one knew who he was before the U.S. declared him president of Venezuela. No one in Venezuela had ever voted for him to be a president.
80% of the population didn't know who the fuck this guy was.
Had never heard his name. So imagine some representative in the middle of nowhere America is suddenly declared by, let's say, Mexico as the president of the U.S. That's what it is. And so now he's still around. He still runs around doing shit. I mean, that's a testament to what Venezuela is. Venezuela has not arrested him. Imagine if there was a fucking dude in the U.S. who was in the House of Representatives who declared himself president and was trying to get other countries to bomb the U.S. and had signed a contract, a multi-million-dollar contract, to have mercenaries infiltrate the U.S., come into the U.S. with guns and try and take it over. Do you think that person would still be walking free on the streets? Oh my God! They would have him torn into pieces and hung up in the cage they kept Chelsea Manning in. So the idea, the fact that he's still a free man is like, that shows you how Venezuela is right now. But yeah, sorry, I don't know. I have another topic if we'd like to move on, but
yes.
Yes, please share this feed, everyone.
And this has nothing to do with anything. It's just a nice little bit of trivia that the Venezuelan elections this year fall on my birthday. So
everybody, you know when to get the gifts. She likes large, sparkly things.
No, I don't.
Like this gown.
Okay. Oh my God, it's not a gown.
I don't know what those words mean.
Oh God.
Like this blouse.
It's not.
like this jersey you have on. This Lakers jersey. Like this hat. But.
Okay, we're gonna move on. But I do not like big sparkly things because as soon as you say that, somebody's gonna go out and buy like a big sparkly dildo, and I don't need that. I don't want it. In general, I don't really like sparkly things.
Listen, if a dildo needs to show up to impress, all right? You don't want a dull dildo. A dildo?
Okay, let's move on.
Wait, where was it you think we went off the rails?
When you called this a boa.
I'm glad I made it that far. So, all right, you're going to like this story. It's unlike the presidential debates.
Oh, okay.
Volunteers are mobilizing in the aftermath of the Oregon fires. So for any of you out west, Oregon, Washington, California, I hope you're doing all right. I hope you're safe. I hope you are not in the path of these horrible fires, which are, let's recall, they're, what are they connected to? Is it
socialists?
Socialists cause the fires. Fucking climate change. I wish the meteorologists, have you ever watched these meteorologists like dance around saying the word climate change? They're like, these fires seem to be happening more and more. We don't know. Maybe nobody raked. Everybody forgot to rake this year. Okay, activist groups in Oregon are collecting and distributing supplies to families displaced by deadly wildfires. Hunter Bombardier, which is the best name I've ever heard, has spent the better part of the past year protesting for an end to police violence and anti-Black racism and supporting communities hit hard by COVID-19. That is how the 33-year-old member of Symbiosis, a network of left-wing organizations across the U.S., was ready to help when massive wildfires broke out south of Portland, Oregon, forcing tens of thousands of people to flee their homes. Thoughts?
Well, I think it's rad that there are these networks, and it really speaks to the power. And of course, Symbiosis is a nod to mutual aid and to solidarity rather than charity. This idea of working together and not having this really oppressive hierarchical structure. But yeah, I mean, I think this is incredibly powerful, and it shows again, like these conversations about, we have to get rid of this government. We have to and it's like, yes, that's very true, but we have to start building and creating and organizing in the ways that we want to see things work and how we want things to be.
Create the future you want to see.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And that can sound trite and cliche, but it's true. It's like what these people are doing and what mutual aid networks are doing. They're creating these networks of people that are there to assist if and when some shit goes down, and some shit will always go down. Like for instance, mutual aid disaster relief has been super awesome in connecting with mutual aid networks around the country. Like, they've sent us masks here in DC. They've sent us like herbs and things to give to folks in terms of like medical care and mental health. It's incredible what we can create when we decide that we're just going to start building this shit, and we're just going to
Thank you, Nicole.
And we're just going to start working together to ensure that we can take care of each other. We keep us safe, right? And that is not just a hashtag. It's an affirmation, and it's a philosophy that we live. And so it's so awesome to hear these stories, because they really highlight what's possible when we stop bickering about like political theory or whatever the fuck, or who thinks what brand of ism is the most radical or whatever the fuck, and we just start building it. And that is where our real power lies, Start building and organizing that world that you want to see.
Thank you, Papa J.
Outside the confines of what we have right now. So thank you so much. Woo. So yeah, that was my rant. Now I'm tired. Oh.
I totally agree. I think that this is where, people often ask, I'm sure you get this question a lot, where we see hope in this world, considering all the awful shit we have to talk about. And I'd say that's where I see it, is like the groups and organizations that are creating the kind of better world they want to see, that hopefully we all want to see. Because we've learned that at least on the federal level, the government is not going to be there for us. And so neighbors need to turn to each other, and those systems have to be built up. Even if you're in an area where the things are not bad right now, it's great to get that stuff started early before the shit hits the fan.
Mm-hmm.
So, this kind of thing really is just awesome. I mean, these people, that are creating the systems, the infrastructure that needs to be there to save those who need help and save your community, even if you aren't the one that needs help, it's truly incredible. So I hadn't heard of symbiosis before now, but it sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. It's rad to hear those kind of stories. For somebody on Facebook had asked how they donate. So if you're on Facebook, you can't donate via Facebook. You've got to go to youtube.com/momentofclarity. And then when you can see when you're, where you scroll down to write a comment, that's where you can click the $sign and donate. And again, all of the donations tonight are going to Sisseton, Wahpeton Sioux Tribe, which is in northeastern South Dakota, and that's where they're really struggling with COVID at the moment, and they could really use help in getting things like PPE for their folks, and getting supplies to folks who are in need. So that's where the donations are going. Please, if you have even just a couple of bucks, please throw them in that super chat. Is that what it's called? Super chat or Snapchat or something chat?
Super chat.
Super chat. Thank you. Throw it in that.
Snapchat.
I don't fucking know. And these newfangled apps and things.
You kids with your apps. What are you doing there? When I was a kid, we considered an app was when you took out a pen and you wrote a note, you handed it to someone. There's my app.
Dude, seriously, do kids pass notes? Well, I guess now not so much, but do kids pass notes in school anymore? Because that was totally a thing.
They text each other under the desk.
That's so bizarre. Anyway, this is a total fucking tangent, but I think it was fucking hilarious. So my friend Sam and I were here in DC, I guess a couple of years ago, and we went to the Smithsonian because they had this rad Ella Fitzgerald exhibit, and then they had next to it a thank you Underhill. Thank you so much. So they had an exhibit about technology, and there was a phone, one of the phones that you used to have in your kitchen. There was one of those in the exhibit, behind glass.
Like a telephone.
And I was like, hey, that looks like our kitchen phone. But it's just so fucking bananas.
Not your current kitchen phone.
I don't have a kitchen phone.
That's my point. You sounded like you had a landline on your wall.
They stole my kitchen phone. That would make me sound like an Illuminati hat where the Smithsonian stole my kitchen phone. Yes, Lucy just posted a rotary phone. Yes, that is another, when you actually had to, I was explaining that to some 18-year-olds not that long ago, where you actually had to you had to spin that fucker. And when you were little, when I was a kid, we still had a rotary phone. Your finger would get stuck and it would really fucking hurt. The struggle is real, folks. So yes, thank you so much, Pancho. Again, all of the donations tonight are going to the Sisseton, Wahpeton Sioux Tribe.
Thank you, Pancho.
In South Dakota. So what are we talking about?
I don't know. We can always move on to some other topics. There's been something I'm covering on Redacted tonight for next week, so watch out for next week. And by the way, if you want all Redacted tonight, it's at youtube.com/redacted tonight. But something I'm covering next week are these leaks that have come out, blue leaks, which I feel like you'd have a lot of interest in, and all on police behavior across the United States. But then also,
thank you, Matt.
the Syria PR leaks that the Gray Zone has been covering. Ben Norton's been covering at the Gray Zone. And, you know, if you really want a play-by-play with the quotes and everything, then definitely watch Redacted tonight. But the general point of the Syria PR leaks shows that these PR companies were receiving millions of dollars, maybe continue to receive money, from the US and UK to put forward these stories about Syria to try and get the American, you know, manufacture consents for Americans to agree with the war in Syria, the bombing of Syria, the economic war we continue to wage against Syria. And the UK is also involved in it. And this stuff was just bought up. I mean, thank God this stuff was finally leaked, because like this stuff was just bought up hook, line, and sinker by, I don't know if you can buy a hook, line, and sinker. I guess you could at a bait shop, maybe. I would say I'm mixing my metaphors, but you could go to a bait shop and buy a hook, line, and sinker. And that's what they did. They did it at the bait shop with the worms. But all these media outlets, I mean, the Guardian, the BBC, Al Jazeera, of course, CNN and Fox News and all of them buy this fucking bullshit that's put forward by literal PR companies saying like, oh, the white helmets are just helping these poor kids in these bombed buildings. And then when you interview a white helmet, they go, you know what we need? We need the U.S. to bomb more. If the U.S. could just bomb, we could really help people.
Right.
I mean, it's just amazing. But anyway, so that's from the Gray Zone. And then, of course, the Blue Leaks. I don't know if you've read some about those.
I haven't really.
But I mean, it shows police behavior across the country. It's not stuff that would shock you. It's like how much they're involved with corporate America. That corporate America will tell police departments what demonstrations, often environmental demonstrations, pro-environment demonstrations.
Well, this is stuff that's leaked, not on such a big scale, but these are things that have leaked in the past. I remember seeing leaks like this. I believe like it came out with thank you, Anna.
Thanks, Anna.
I remember hearing about this when I lived in LA about like the atrocities carried out by the LAPD, all the way going back to the first time that a SWAT team was ever deployed. Here's a little trivia for you. The first time that a SWAT team was ever deployed, I think it was 69 or 60, something like that. It was deployed against a Black Panther organizer. That was the first time that the SWAT team was ever used. So this idea that the SWAT team was created specifically for, high risk situations where there's like an active shooter or something, no, that's fucking bullshit. It was created because there were people that were fighting desperately for their their basic human rights. And so I've seen little like pockets of these kind of leaks before, in particular, like in Louisiana is another example where there was some great investigative reporting being done by a fellow journalist, Karen Savage, who found that the cops were moonlighting as pipeline security officers.
Right.
So they were literally like the same people, not just like buddy, but like legit the same fucking people who would beat the shit out of you and surveil you as a cop and then do the same thing as a pipeline security officer. So this, these kind of stories, these kind of leaks have been happening kind of in pockets here and there. But this is obviously a larger leak, and I'm glad that it's getting out there.
Whoa.
Wow, thank you so much for
$50 from Felicia.
Thank you so much. Again,
Incredible.
all of this money is going.
I think I recognize that guy in your thumbnail. Apparently, I have met Felicia.
So again, all of this money is going to the Sisseton, Wapet, and Sioux tribe in South Dakota, who's being really hit hard by COVID at the moment.
Thank you, Chelsea.
Thank you, Chelsea. Thank you so much for donating. Where was I?
Well, we were talking about the Blue Leaks for a moment.
Oh, yeah.
Also, another news story this week is that the Julian Assange trial has wrapped up. It is now over. The judge, I think I mentioned this last week, the judge insisted on rushing everything. Witnesses were given a tiny amount of the time they probably required to actually mount a proper defense for Julian Assange. So it was all rushed through, and now it's done, and she says she'll have her decision January 4th. So basically it was like, oh, no, we don't have any time to hear the witnesses, but I'll see you next year.
Yeah.
It was like, then how do you not have time to hear the witnesses? I mean, it's such utter horseshit. And the other thing is, like, I was reading some of the questioning of these witnesses by the prosecution. So these are the people trying to undermine Julian Assange's defense. And their questioning was very standard for all of these witnesses. It was basically to pretend that they don't know what the fuck they're talking about by just being like, So you're a physician, yes? Well, are you a physician in jails? And you're like, well, no, I don't work in jails, but I have met with prisoners. So you're not a jail physician. Like, it was just all that shit.
As if they're different human beings just because they're in jail.
Yeah, but it was just all that shit to make everyone think that no one knows what they're talking about, as if like some of these renowned witnesses that have said Julian Assange was crucial and is, a publisher who revealed incredibly important information that has saved lives around the world. They just wanted to undermine all of that, and it really is disgusting to see. But who knows where the judge will come down? But she is put in this position. She is that judge. She is the judge of this trial because she, has basically along her career done what the empire wants. If you are a judge that is going against what is allowable for the empire, then you do not get to that position.
Yeah. Do you know what next steps are in terms of, the freeing, like the action for Assange and stuff like that? Are there more actions planned or more?
I don't actually know when their protests are, but everyone should follow Action for Assange. They usually the 4 is a number 4. And it's on Twitter and everything, and they've been doing great work. Consortium News has been doing great work. Kevin Gostola has been doing great work. CraigMurray.org. And so there's actions, going on, but especially in the U.S. and U.K., if not other countries. But yeah, people need to keep up the pressure because, if we're going to stop the extradition of Assange, it's going to come from public pressure. And I know it seems borderline hopeless, but there is a small chance there that the UK does not want to cede their sovereignty and basically just, back down and allow the US to steal whoever they want in a black bag.
Yeah, and I think this is also part of the, if it's not a direct reason that they're doing it, it certainly, they know that it helps leaving this amount of time. It's October now. They're not going to decide on it until next year. This gives them an amount of lag time, and they're hoping that people will fucking forget because holy shit, there's going to be the elections, and then nobody knows what's going to happen after the elections, and then there's Christmas and New Year's, and fucking COVID's still going to be a problem, and like that people are going to forget about Assange. But of course, that's not the case. There are people that are working on this very, pretty much exclusively. And then, of course, there are people that are focusing on this. Wow. Thank you so much, Bernie.
Thank
really
you, Bernie.
Appreciate it.
Incredible.
So yeah, this is, this is not something that's just going to fall to the wayside, but it is, this is also a good reminder to look at other things that happen like around the holidays. There's a lot of shit that will go down in the so-called like lame duck time period between the election and the new session in January. And there's a lot of shit that gets shoved in like on New Year's Day, shit like that, on, like a couple of days before Christmas or something when nobody's paying attention. And they know that nobody's paying attention. So they shove through these atrocities in that time period. So it's a good reminder to remember to look at that and keep that in mind as well. While you're drinking your eggnog or whatever.
By the way, if we get $50 in the next 5 minutes, we will stay for 10 more minutes. So please, if you happen to have a little something to donate to the, I'm not going to pronounce it right, so I won't.
The Sisseton Wahpeton Sioux Tribe.
The Sisseton Wahpeton Sioux Tribe. Then please do. And if we get $50 in the next 5 minutes, that would be awesome. And speaking of Assange, for those of you just joining us, we donated from the super chat last week $1,366 to the Julian Assange Legal Fund created by his partner Stella Morris.
Yes. Right. I was going to say I don't actually know if I'm pronouncing it right either because
you're certainly getting closer than me not saying anything.
That might be. You don't want to dive in? Take a stab at it.
Do you have any?
Thank you, Lucy.
Does anybody have any other topics they'd like to hit in our final few minutes here? What did you cover on?
Thank you, Maki.
Act Out or Silver Threads? Do you want to promote? Silver Threads?
Sure. So this past week there was another episode of Silver Threads, and that's my my podcast with Carla Bergman, who's the co-author of the of Joyful Militancy. And we had a new episode.
Thank you so much, Smack.
I think the best part of these.
Here, can you say that one?
Thanks for being you.
Character looking in hand mirror.
Wearing a Björn Borg headband.
Björn Borg.
Björn Borg. God damn it. Americans can't pronounce anything.
Thank you, 13 Applejacks.
Thank you. Fuck, what was I saying? All these amazing
Silver Threads.
Right, thank you. On Silver Threads, we had a new episode that came out this past week. And it was with Zainab Amadahi.
Thank you, Medardo.
Thank you, Medardo, and Podcast by George. And wow, yay. So check that out. You can check that out on Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes. There was also a new episode of Act Out that came out on Friday, which was yesterday. And we didn't do a Common Censored because there was just a shit ton else. But we will be back this coming week with a rad new episode.
It is an awesome podcast, definitely.
And you have another episode of Government Secrets coming out on Monday as well?
Yes, I'm taping with Graham Elwood, if you haven't checked out.
Thank you.
Thank you, M. Lil, and Underhill. Underhill as well.
Tack så mycket. That's not how you say it in Norwegian. I'm responding in Swedish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Government Secrets with Graham Elwood, where each week we go through various big-time government secrets, some of them current, some of them past, but I think a lot of it will blow your mind, so please check out Government Secrets. It is free anywhere you get your podcasts.
Yes. Whitney Webb is also a rad journalist, does a lot of work for Mint Press News, which is a really powerful and important outlet. Does a lot of work on corporate malfeasance and what's it called? Foreign policy, if you could call it that. Foreign policy. Here, another thing, like stepping into the nerdery of language for a second. Foreign policy sounds nice. It sounds like you're engaging in diplomacy, right?
I know.
But we don't do foreign policy. We fucking we do war, whether that is economic warfare, whether that's, actual like physical violent boots on the ground warfare or drones in the sky. Foreign policy is like what fucking Trinidad and Tobago do. Like, we do not do fucking foreign policy. We do hardcore colonialist imperialist warfare. So yeah, that's just a little tangent about English.
It's true. It's another one of those euphemisms that you see again and again. In my stand-up comedy special, I joked about, or I made fun of the fact that they often say, look at the U.S.'s advanced weaponry, our American advanced weaponry. And it's like, no, it's not advanced. It's barbaric. Mm-hmm. There's nothing advanced about it. It's like watching, somebody shoot someone in the head and going, wow, wasn't that an advanced move? Look how advanced he is. It's just, but it's another one of these gross euphemisms that they use to make you think this is okay, to make you think this isn't morally repulsive, to make you think this doesn't go against everything that should be the normal behavior of a human being. That shouldn't be sociopathic, psychopathic, belligerence. That is disintegrating our world around us. They use it with, and this goes back to the civility. I mean, these euphemisms fit with the civility thing.
Exactly.
Like, do we call our Pentagon or our Department of Defense, do we call it a machine of mass human murder? No.
Yeah. Wouldn't
that be great though? People would know what they're getting. Hey, we just spent $1 trillion on our machine of mass human murder.
Thank you.
Okay.
Osama number 5. Fighting terrorism since 1492. Yes, and still today, absolutely. Colonialism didn't change, or colonialism didn't die. It just got a suit and tie, definitely. I think, when I was in Paris for the COP21, what was that? Like, that was almost five years ago. There was a Casey Camp Hornick. I can't remember. I forget which tribe she represents. But she was talking about the history of colonialism and how first they came with smallpox blankets and muskets, and now they come with bulldozers and pipeline equipment. And
Thank you, Redneck Economics.
Thank you. It's the same fucking. It's the same story. They just have different tools now. And so again, the money that y'all are donating tonight is going to Indigenous folks that are still battling terrorism and colonialism. All of these more than 500 years later. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Bobby Foxglove.
Thank you. I think we got $50.
So yeah, no, I was taking into account that we got $50. So we have about 4 or 5 minutes left of the extra 10 minutes. If anybody's got a quick question they wanted to ask, feel free. Ranked choice voting. Your thoughts on ranked choice voting?
I dig it.
Yeah, ranked choice voting actually would be really great if we had it in more places. But yeah, I know a lot of people are struggling around the country right now. I mean, the jobless numbers are just insane. And a question that can't really be discussed throughout this economic collapse we're seeing is, why does our economy collapse when businesses have to go on pause for a few months? Like, is it not possible to have a system where a business could pause and everything doesn't collapse? Or where somebody who has to not work because of a pandemic doesn't then have the complete inability to pay their rent? And the answer is yes, we could. But we can't even have a discussion about that on your mainstream airwaves. You can't even sit down and talk about why it is that 100 million people are facing evictions right now in America. And of course, millions overseas as well and around the world. Because most of them are maybe not as late stage capitalism, as far along in late stage capitalism, but many of them are not far from us. And it's like, absolutely, you could have a completely different economic system where you have a pandemic, the community gets together, says, hey, we need to pause these things, we need to close restaurants, and people are not thrown out on the streets.
Yep. And thank you, Joan. Someone noted that it's the Ponca tribe that Casey Kampornik is a member of. So thank you for that reminder. Yeah.
Got it. And I'm going to make you one of the hype people. You just stand in the back and go, what? Yeah. All right. Let's go.
Tired.
Well, you're lucky. We only have a couple of minutes left.
Yeah, no, somebody I was reading the comments here. People are talking about the issue of eviction and also the recent Amazon the 20,000 workers that have contracted COVID. We're going to talk about that on the podcast as well. But yeah, the evictions. I mean, this is something that people are talking about, particularly as winter comes around, and not just even evictions, but people could still have a home. This was something that happened a lot, like in Michigan several years ago.
Thank you, George.
Thank you, George. Is that people had homes, but they didn't have money to pay for utilities, so they didn't have heat, and they were freezing to death inside their homes because it got so fucking cold in Michigan during the winter. So, there are a myriad ways that the system can kill you, and these are definitely issues and questions that mutual aid and community organizers are talking about and trying to figure out best practices and ways to address this, because of course, one of the things with climate change is that there's also, thank you, Underhill, that the winters are more ferocious as well. This is something that Allison Renville, who our contact at the Sisseton-Wahpeton Sioux tribe, pointed out that they're not just in need of supplies right now, but they're looking ahead to the winter, where thanks to climate change, the temperatures can get to 50 below freezing or colder in the Dakotas. So this is, these are really dire times and dire situations. And so that's why it's really important that we we come up with ways to really support one another and have these conversations and really figure out ways to keep each other safe. And what does community defense look like in that sense? What does community aid look like? So these are big questions, and the answers, kind of like the symbiosis organization that Lee talked about. The answers look different all over the place, and the answers look different depending on what your community needs are. But these are questions that are being asked and definitely being answered by rad folks all over the place.
Yeah, and I remember it was about a year or two after Occupy was when Superstorm Sandy hit New York City, and that was when I lived in New York City. And I volunteered with Occupy Sandy, which was a, just kind of random assortment of people that realized that there were communities hit by Sandy, like Coney Island, which was where I went to volunteer, that just desperately needed help. There was no FEMA. There was no government that was going to arrive. You had elderly people trapped in high-rise kind of public housing that couldn't get down because they only take elevators, and the elevators were, because there was no power, the elevators were out for weeks. Mm-hmm. And so, people were literally walking their dogs to go poop on the stairs because they couldn't get out of the building. And so they needed people to bring food up into these buildings. And that's just one example. But the Occupy Sandy group was just random citizens. It was, and that's my view of it. Like, if someone had to say, like, name a hero, in my view, it is these people that are, it's volunteering and taking the initiative, and they're not getting any acclaim. They're not getting likes on Instagram. They're just, which, fucking indicts myself, but I'm fine with that.
Well, you do important work in a different way.
Well, yeah, but I'm doing it for the likes on Instagram.
Thank you, Nick.
And so they're just out there helping people, taking time out of their day while they also, of course, have jobs, almost all of them. And like, that is, in my view, a hero, is like these people that no one came to them and said, hey, we're looking to hire a technical logistics organizer for our Occupy Sandy Relief organization. Can you send in a resume? No, they fucking showed up. Wow,
thank you,
Bill Ness, $50. That's incredible. They fucking showed up and they said, hey, here's the skill set I have. Here's what I'm willing to do. I'm willing to learn other things. And they just got to work. Mm-hmm. And it's like, that's what we're going to be seeing, that more and more, and we're going to need it more and more. And those are fucking heroes. No one's, I don't even know. I don't think I learned the name of, maybe for the moment, or maybe I learned some first names, but I didn't learn the name of anyone there. You just showed up and they were like, hey, here's what we need. Take this to floor 14 of this building. Yeah. And you're like, okay, cool. And you went and did it. And it's like, that's how that's a community standing up for each other. And we really need that right now. And with climate change and late stage capitalism, we're going to need it more and more. And I don't just mean America. I'm talking about around the world.
Amen. And just real quick, Nick, with regards to your question, chances that Dems take the Senate and we get more stimulus next year. The Dems have had both houses of Congress and the presidency, and we got jack shit. So I think that in terms of placing our hopes on the Dems winning the Senate, I think for some people they would really like that. For me, I wouldn't, because the policy won't change. The policy points are going to be the same regardless of who has the houses of Congress. And actually, if you look, the Congress basically doesn't legislate anymore. They fucking sit there and volley bad ideas back and forth. That's basically what they do.
Well, yeah, and large studies have shown that they only approve things. Thank you, Moriferium.
From Norway. We got some Norwegians representing.
Yeah, Norwegians really representing. I think you're pulling them in.
I'm not Norwegian.
No, I know, but they like your people.
I know, no, right, not right now.
I'm aware you're not Norwegian.
They closed their border for the first time in history, which, by the way, totally on board with you doing that. I don't know what the fuck the Swedes are doing right now. It's bananas, and I'm so embarrassed. So, amen on you fucking closing your border. That's a side note.
Before we wrap up, can I just circle back to,
yes,
can we expect more stimulus if the Dems win the Senate? you might get, because I know the Democrats in the House put forward a plan for more stimulus, and the Republicans are blocking it or whatever. But there might be some more stimulus. But it's not nearly what needs to be happening. I'm fine. Look, if they send out another $1,200 check to everybody, great. I'm all for it because it's kind of like a one-time UBI. It needs to be monthly or whatever. But that type of stimulus is not, it doesn't solve the problem. It is a Band-Aid. And look, I'm all for Band-Aids. I mean, if you're on a long trek and someone cuts themselves, fucking put a Band-Aid on it. But if
somebody gets their leg chopped off
and you keep putting Band-Aids on it, yeah. But I'm all for Band-Aids, but they're not going to solve our problems. So I'm not saying, that I'm against another $1,200 check or whatever the Democrats want to do, but our systems need to be changed so drastically in order for us not to go off this environmental economic cliff and just waving to everybody as we fly into the air, just in order to avoid that, we need such deep, large change that it needs to be talked about on a daily basis. And the Democrats are failing as much as the Republicans because they're one giant corporate party. And, so I'm not saying that, don't root for a little more stimulus, but, it's like starving to death and rooting for a grape. Yes, you should want that grape. Please give me the grape. But you don't expect that to save you.
I like that. I might steal that.
Please do.
Another good one that I heard, I think it was Mickey Huff from Project Censored that put it this way, that, the Democrats, we're in a fucking car driving off the cliff. The Republicans are hitting the gas pedal and the Democrats are squeegeeing the windows to make it so you can see the upcoming cliff a little bit better.
I think my line was that the Republicans are Democrats are the Republicans are flying off the cliff and the Democrats are in the back seat looking out the back window and going, "That's a lovely sunset."
Right.
The sunset's awesome.
It's so.
Okay, guys, thank you so much. But if you would like to donate, can we tell them something to look up if they're watching this later and they want to donate? Or if there's not, it's fine.
Not really.
Okay,
I mean,
fine.
I guess you could donate through. Actually, hold on.
So there's no website. It's okay.
No, but I do. She gave me her PayPal info.
I'll tell them some other things while you look that up. So we both have podcasts that you can check out for free. Act Out is one of them. Silver Threads is another one of Eleanor's. And then the one we do together is called Common Censored. If you want to support our work with Common Censored, you can go to patreon.com/Common Censored. And I have a new podcast called Government Secrets with Graham Elwood as well. And basically all of this stuff, this live stream, everything else, it's all at leecamp.com. You can just, if you only want to remember one thing, you can remember that. But also Eleanor's site is artkillingapathy.com. So those are the two websites.
Yes, and I just put in the chat that it's paypal.me/Allison Renville. And again, Allison Renville is the public information officer for the Sisseton Wahpeton Sioux tribe. And she's the one that I've been in contact with regarding the donations for her tribe and her community. So if you want to donate directly to that and your...
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you, Nick. And if you want to donate directly to her, if you're watching this after the fact, that's where you can do that. So... thank you.
Keep fighting, everybody. We love you, and we hope to see you next week.
Indeed. Act out.